When I was a kid, I had this one cousin. He liked to stir things up. He would tell this cousin what that cousin said about them, and then that one what this one said, and it would always end up in a fight. Finally, when the truth was out, it'll be too late. I'm sure all of us had a cousin or a friend like this in our childhood. And I'm sure that there was at least one person in your house who said, "Oh, he's such a Narad," or a Naradan, if you were Malayali like me. But do you know that this guy was not like that at all? That we have gotten Narad all wrong. In today's episode, we will talk about the origin story of the sage Narad. Narad is a Devarishi, or a god sage, often depicted carrying around a veena and singing praises, Narayana, Narayana. He would roam all over the universe, and often, wherever he went, trouble followed. Let me give you an example. We've all heard of Krishna's evil uncle, Kams, right? You know, the one who he killed, the one that jailed Krishna's parents, his sister. Kams was apparently a very loving brother in the beginning. He is said to have loved his sister Devaki, Krishna's mother, more than anything. He loved her so much that when she was going to marry his best friend, that's right, Kamsa's best friend, Vasudeva, Krishna's father, Kams carried his sister on a palanquin himself, or a pallak. Enter Narad. "Hello, Mr. Kams, how are you?" Yes, I've eaten. "Oh, no, I'm good. Maybe later." "Oh yeah, by the way, did you know that your sister Devaki's eighth child will kill you?" Needless to say, Kams did not take this very well. He jailed his sister and her husband. Not only that, he kills all 7 children born to them by bashing the infant's head against the wall. And finally, to make sure his killer doesn't survive, he not only kills the perceived 8th child, but also every child who was born at the same time in the kingdom. Just making sure, I guess. Now all of you must be thinking, if only Narad did not tell him about this in the first place. But let me explain. The word Narad comes from Naram Datati Narada. He is the one who spreads knowledge to human, god, and demon alike. Narad doesn't discriminate. In fact, Narad is the one who tells Valmiki about the Ramayana before he even wrote it. That's right, Valmiki learned about Ram from Narad, but we will talk about that later. He is eloquent, resolute, and intelligent, and he's single. So then, why do we picture him to be the one who makes everyone fight? In Narad's previous birth, he was born as the son of a Shudra cleaner woman in an ashram. Once, a few Vaishnavite sages were passing through, and it was this boy who attended to them as they stayed there. Through them, he learns of Vishnu and the concept of moksha and mukti. He learns it so well that he loses interest in a mortal life and wants to take the path of a detached sage. But because of his aging mother and his responsibilities towards her, he doesn't go with them. Years later, his mother dies of a snake bite. But the boy does not cry, nor does he feel sad. And not because he's a bad son or that he did not love her. It's because he had already achieved the state of detachment, the understanding that death is but a passage and liberation. So he goes off on a pilgrimage. He meditates on a riverbank, and one day, Vishnu comes before him. The boy cries by sheer joy at the long last wish being granted of wanting to see Vishnu. He gets a blessing that once the boy leaves his mortal body, he would merge with Vishnu's essence. Overjoyed from that day, the boy wanders the earth, focused on his devotion, meditating upon and praising Vishnu until he dies. Later, he was reborn as the sage Narad. So you see, Narad symbolizes the one who dispels the darkness in the form of ignorance from you. Narad would explain that what is destined to happen will happen. But let's put aside that supernatural thing for a bit. Narad believed in reporting facts for what they are. So essentially, Narad was like the first journalist. It's just that he seemed to know the things before they even happened. But what's important is the notion that facts must be reported and not some convoluted version of them. A lesson that even today, journalists could take a page out of. And finally, the connotation that he was a Shudra prior to being reborn is sort of like a prelude that knowledge is accessible to the worthy, whether they be God, human, or even demon. Only knowledge stands above all. Knowledge is the only superior. On next week's episode, Ram was not the perfect man. Ram had flaws. Stay tuned to find out.